Hi, welcome to our Faith Friday. Today we're going to talk about a few verses. We're going to go through and look at some Christian books that I love and a few that I didn't even finish. And we're going to do a little bit of painting together. On a rainy day, one of my favorite things to do is to get all of my painting supplies out and actually put on a Bob Ross and kind of follow along with him. My paintings don't end up looking the same as his. I mix up my colors and do change up my scene to the things that I am interested in, but still listening to his encouraging voice in the background telling me to paint happy trees is another fun thing that I like to do on a rainy day. Kind of a theme verse for me for this year has been in 1 Corinthians 11:1, where it says, "Be imitators of me, just as I also am of Christ." Now, this is Paul writing to the people in Corinth, and he's trying to help them know how to live their Christian life, how to have a strong Christian walk. And he's telling them to imitate him, but not because he is so perfect, because he is imitating Christ. So that's been my goal for my year, that my children, that those that I am trying to encourage would be able to imitate me because I am imitating Christ. So today I kind of wanted to give you an example of some things that I do in my Christian walk to help strengthen and encourage me to be able to stay strong in my Christian walk. As I was thinking about this, I really have some books that I would love to share with you guys, and we're going to get to those in a minute, and I'll tell you which ones are some of my favorites and which ones I didn't even finish. But as I was thinking about sharing books with you guys, I wanted to make sure that I looked first to God's Word and talk about how we can study God's Word and be encouraged and challenged through it. So today we're going to look at a couple verses that are around that verse in Corinthians to help us get the full perspective of what is being said here. The church in Corinth was struggling with some different things, struggling with the culture that they had come out of and knowing how to live for Christ in this very sinful culture that they were a part of. And so the exact examples that are given in these chapters in chapter 10 and 11 might not feel like they apply very directly to us. He was dealing with what they could and couldn't eat and how they should flee from idolatry, which you may feel like is not very relevant to you. But I want to pull out some verses here that kind of help us to know how we can apply this to our own life and our own struggles. In chapter 10, verse 13, he says, "No temptation has overtaken you, but such as is common to man. And God is faithful, who will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you are able, but with the temptation will provide the way of escape also, so that you will be able to endure it." We all live in this current world surrounded by temptation, surrounded by a culture that does not put God first and does not seek to imitate him. Sometimes we can be very overwhelmed. I know that I can be overwhelmed. I would say right now, as I'm thinking about how to walk in wisdom and make the most of my time, I'm mostly overwhelmed with all of the many distractions. I have my phone on me all the time. Notifications go off. I find myself scrolling, seeing what other people are doing, and just wasting time. And our social media is designed to suck us in, right? And waste our time. And so I can feel like, well, how am I going to beat that, right? They're always trying to distract me. Our world is filled with so much noise, right? Our radio, our TV, our everything on our phones, I keep coming back to, can be such a big distraction. But no temptation has overtaken me. But what is common, everyone struggles with these types of things. Everyone struggles with how to manage their time. Everyone faces the same distractions. But with God's help, God is faithful, and He will not allow me to be tempted beyond what I am able to handle with His help. Now, if I'm doing it in my own strength, that's a different story. But if I am looking to God and asking Him to help me and keeping my eyes focused on imitating Christ, then there's no temptation that is uncommon, that's harder than I can handle with His help. So that's the first thing that I want to look at. And then in verse 23, it says, all things are lawful, but not all things are profitable. All things are lawful, but not all things edify. Now, Paul was talking in this context about the things that they should and should not eat, and they were struggling with this idea. And he's saying the food in and of itself is not the problem. We are saved by grace, not by following a strict list of rules and what we can and cannot eat. But just because something might be okay for you to do or have does not mean that it is profitable or that it will be edifying. And so I'm going to connect this back again to just how we spend our time today. Now, I am feeling like my phone and my social media can be a very big distraction. And I'm not coming here to say, oh, you should get rid of your phone. You should get rid of these distractions. They are terrible things for you as a Christian. But I am here wanting to ask you, is it profitable? Is it edifying to you? As we're thinking about walking in wisdom and how we make the most of our time, is our time being used wisely? Is your phone and the things you're doing on it profitable and edifying? And that's a question that we all have to wrestle with on our own. We have to think about how we are using our time. As we seek to walk in light and follow Christ's example as Jesus is the light of the world, how are we going to spend our time? And as we seek to walk in love, following God's example as God is love, are we letting other things in our life distract us from loving those around us and truly serving and encouraging them? So I pulled a few books off of my shelf as I was thinking about rainy day cozy reading today. And I love these books. They look beautiful. They're blues and greens and they look just beautiful on my shelf. But some of them are more profitable to me than others. So I'm actually going to start with this one here. This book is Mary Slessor. It's in the Heroes of Faith collection. So it's a beautiful kind of older book. And it tells the true story of a woman named Mary who had an extraordinary life. She was a missionary to Calabar in Africa. And so this story is full of excitement and danger, but it's a true story. And it's also full of a bit of tragedy as she was just ministering to people who were living in a really dark time, a really dangerous time. There was just a lot of fighting and sickness, and just, she was a light in a really dark place. And so reading true stories, autobiographies and biographies of Christians who have gone before, who have served God, and they themselves were seeking to imitate Christ, then they can be an example for us to follow. And so my life is not nearly as exciting and dangerous as her ministry in Africa, but just reading about all that she went through and how she was able to stay strong and continue to serve God and continue to be faithful, this is a great use of my time to read. And I'm actually slowly working my way through it because I can only handle it in small chunks, but it is very encouraging to me. I also have another one that falls in that same missionary category, A Chance to Die, The Life and Legacy of Amy Carmichael by Elizabeth Elliot. And this is another great book that I would definitely recommend, that is true story about a wonderful lady who was a missionary and can really encourage and challenge us to follow that. Now, I also grabbed this book, which is a beautiful copy of Anne of Green Gables, because I also read a lot of fiction, and I've been struggling as I've been trying to read some newer fiction, and I've enjoyed the stories, but I've been discouraged by just the worldview that I've been seeing. And so this is a classic that I read from time to time, and while it's not a Christian biography, it's not a Bible study type book, it has good morals that are encouraging to me to read. So I just want to challenge you, if you're looking for fiction, to think about the author's perspective. Ellen Montgomery was a Christian who wrote these books, and so she has a good worldview to follow. And think about, does the book that you're reading challenge you, make you want to be a better person, make you want to live in a way that would be glorifying to Christ and imitating of him? Now, I also have these books, which I was so excited to get. They are beautiful. They are Christian books that were written for kind of the young readers, and I thought this would be beautiful to have on my shelf and to encourage my kids to read. But this little stack here is my did not finish stack. I've started several books in this collection, and while they're beautiful old books, I love the illustrations in some of them, and they are written from a Christian perspective, they are too full of very clear morals that kind of take you out of the story. The characters feel at times too perfect. And sometimes if I read a story that is too on the nose, too preachy, too the characters are too perfect, it becomes no longer encouraging to me, because I feel like I cannot relate. I would rather read the Bible straight and get my morals straight from the Bible. And I prefer, if I'm going to read something that's not the Bible, that it would be a story that really pulls me in, that I'm really interested in, Or something that where the person I'm hearing about really, it's a true story about their life. There's someone who really did live following Christ. They struggled and they persevered. And that I find much more encouraging and challenging to me than a fictional story where it's just trying a little too hard to get the point across. So for now, I still have these on my shelf. They are beautiful, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with them. But if you're looking for something profitable for your rainy day reading, something edifying, I would recommend A True Story. These are a couple of my favorites. Amy Carmichael, Mary Slessor, or just a fiction book that encourages you and is refreshing from a good perspective. So I love, like I said, Anne of Green Gables is a classic. I personally also like, I don't have a really pretty copy of this one, but I like Emily of New Moon. There's 3 books in this series, and I like these, also by Montgomery. So there's some old ones, but some good ones that you could pick up, and I think would be an encouraging and edifying use of your time if you're looking for something relaxing to read on a rainy day. Another favorite activity for me for a rainy day is to paint these little wood slices. So I'm going to take a little bit of time now and paint them. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.